Welcome to the follow-up video for how to completely rebuild SU HS6 carburetors for Volvo. Today we're going to be getting the initial adjustments in so the car can start. This is also part 6 of the Volvo PV544 restoration series, where I take an abandoned Volvo and I turn it into a daily driver. If you haven't seen part 1 of the SU rebuild, make sure you go ahead and check that out to get familiar with the terminology I'll be using in this video. By the end of the video, we'll have the engine running. So this car was originally equipped with a B16 motor and a single carburetor, so we're not going to do the choke or the fine adjustments. This will be in a later video. Let's start off by balancing the linkage on the carburetors. We want both of the throttles to be opening at the same time. So you want to loosen the two bolts so that the shaft moves freely in between. And with the bolts loose, this allows you to position the linkage. And then I'll start to tighten each of the nuts in a way that opens the throttle shafts at the same time. And it's kind of a back and forth process. And I look at the outside of the throttles as I move the input of the throttle, and I make sure that they're both opening at the same time. I do this by just barely wiggling the throttle input. Eventually you'll have to loosen one side a little, slightly rotate it on this throttle input shaft. It can take a while, but as long as you see that both of the throttles are starting to open at the same time, then you could tighten everything up and you'll be good to go. I also make sure that the idle screws are backed off so they're not touching the throttle plate. It's important that when you do connect everything back together, that the linkage isn't in a position that's forcing the throttle open. So if your piston is stuck or gets caught at the end, then the jet needs to be centered. So we're going to start off by tightening the fuel adjusting nut all the way so the top of the jet can make contact with the bottom of the piston. This is the key to centering the jet. Then we will loosen the locking nut. And with the damper taken out, I'm going to push on the top of a piston with a punch or a long rod and push up on the base of the jet as I am tightening the locking nut. If all is done correctly, it should make a nice metallic click. If you're still not able to center the jet, feel free to contact me or check out the tips that I gave in part 1. Once this is done, we're going to set the fuel mixture and balance it between the carburetors. Very careful not to drop these pistons. It can easily bend the needle or the dash pot if dropped. I found there's a nice spot on the exhaust manifold where the needles can poke through if you want to rest them in a place where they're not going to get knocked over. Here's the adjustment nut on the bottom. This adjusts the fuel mixture. Then the nut on top is the locking nut. This is used exclusively for centering the jet. As you pull the choke, the jet lowers itself. This in turn makes the mixture richer. However, the fuel adjustment nut also lowers the jet, and we will be measuring this with a micrometer. As you can see, the adjustment nut moves the jet in very fine increments. So I measure the top of the jet against the bridge of the carburetor. I like this plastic micrometer because it doesn't scratch up the aluminum surface. I make sure everything's flush. So a good starting point is 40 thousandths. Since the choke is not hooked up, we will have the mixture a little richer so the car can start and run without using the choke. Now we're going to set the other carburetor jet to the same depth so the fuel mixture is balanced between the carbs. Doing this with a micrometer will make it very smooth. And check it once everything is assembled. Check again that nothing is binding, that the jet is still centered. Now we're going to fill the dash pots with oil. I'm using the SU oil. You can also use automatic transmission fluid or engine oil. Some people we'll leave the piston down and just overfill it. That's okay, the oil will be burned, but I prefer not to waste this oil. Now that the damper's full, lifting the piston should be more difficult, but it still should move freely. We have our fuel line set up with our modelo. We're going to tune the car to run off of Modelo gasoline. If you made it this far, you deserve a beer. I invite you to crack one open and watch the rest of the video. I'm going to get this abandoned Volvo started, so come along with me for the ride. My name is Justin and I fix abandoned Volvos and then use them as my daily drivers. I want to do this more, so if you guys can support my Patreon, I'm just trying to keep the knowledge on how to maintain these old Volvos alive. We're also in for our first oil change in 40 years. I position the oil pan under the oil filter. The oil filter doesn't look too bad. And then we're going to use a 1-inch socket to take off the drain plug. Cleveland Brown impression, let's go. Oh, that's just nasty. Oh, that's just nasty. Oh, that's just nasty. Yeah, that's gross. No oil shaving, no metal shavings though, so I always make sure to use oil that contains zinc for the flat tappet cams. And I know what everyone's gonna say, use a genuine Volvo oil filter, but I'm not sure of the condition of this engine. So I'm just throwing a cheap, easy oil filter on there. If it was an engine that I know is good, I would use a OEM Volvo filter. But I just want to get it started and see how it runs. Also, using 2050 oil is on the thicker side, but it's not a bad choice for an older engine with an unknown condition. So I'm going to take off the heater core hoses and loop it back around into the head. I don't want to flush coolant and junk into the heater core. I am planning on flushing the engine block and radiator. So once I loosened the drain valve on the radiator, nothing came out. I was surprised by this, so I headed to the back of the block. And same thing, no coolant, no water. So I thought maybe it's all backed up and corroded with sludge, but I guess the engine was stored dry or it drained out the coolant so long ago there is nothing left. Either way, I'm filling it up with tap water because this is going to get flushed out almost immediately after the engine runs. Now we're heading over to the ignition system. We're going to go through the spark plug, distributor, and wires to make sure everything's in order. So all the spark plugs looked the same. They looked a bit fouled up. Nothing too bad. So I swapped them out for a set of used NGK BPHS6 and I gapped him to 30 thousandths. These are my favorite plugs to run in these engines. Now we're on to the distributor, getting off the very crusty old cap and the hardened rubber wires. I want to give the engine the best chance of running. So fortunately the distributor shaft is not seized up and it springs back into place. I didn't feel any excessive play. And the points look good, so I decided to soak the felt pad in oil and put on distributor cam lube onto where the points ride on the distributor. Mind the notch while reinstalling everything. I am replacing the cap and rotor with new old stock. The firing order is 1342. The distributor spins counterclockwise. And cylinder number 1 is usually marked by a notch on the distributor case. I didn't check the timing on the distributor. So we're using a 12 volt coil. I would use the 6 volt coil that is attached to the car, but this is a 12 volt engine. And I know this coil is good. So we're connecting everything up to a battery. I'm jumping the positive input that goes to the starter, and then the starter solenoid is attached to an extra wire. The engine is grounded to the battery. This is how I'll start the engine. The coil is attached to the battery as well, and it should be getting warm. A working coil will get warm as it has positive power, but I'm always careful not to leave it on too long because I don't want to overheat the coil. Again, we're running the car on Modelo today.
That sounds like stereo. Spark. Spark. I saw a spark.
The car wasn't drinking the Modelo at all. Here I am taking off the fuel bowl lids to see if there's any fuel that made it up inside, and I saw they were completely dry. This led me to believe that the fuel pump is not working. So I grabbed an electric 12 volt fuel pump that I installed.
My Modelo.
That I wired to the battery. And almost immediately the bottle was emptied as the lines and fuel bowls filled up. only concern was preventing it from overheating. And as I'm letting it warm up for the first time, I'm keeping an eye on this coolant gauge. I'm not sure if it's still calibrated or remotely accurate, but it gives me some idea. So it's indicated that I'm past boiling point, and I check the radiator and we are boiling over, so I decide to turn off the engine. I also discover a coolant leak on the top of the water pump. This I'll address later. So make sure you guys hang around for the next video where I drive the car. Yep, I'm driving it already. It's halfway to being roadworthy. It drives, but it doesn't stop. I don't have brakes. That's for next video. So make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't, and have a good day.